Ahoy hoy EPCOT fans, it's Craig
and Ryno,
and we are at EPCOT because tonight was the debut of Luminous The Symphony of Us. We were invited by Disney to come out and check it from a very nice spot in Italy, and well, we got lucky because the wind was on our side. We had nice speakers right behind us, and we got to take in the fireworks show for everything that it is. So let's go ahead and check out a little bit of the show right now.
Starlight, starlight, starlight.
To the great gathering. Welcome.
Bienvenue. Marhaba.
Yokoso.
Welcome.
Benvenuti. Willkommen. Karibu.欢迎.
Willkommen.
Bienvenidos. Everyone on this earth is part of the great symphony of us. Each of us a unique instrument, playing harmony to one another. And even though we are all playing different parts, it's our unified heartbeat that connects us, reminding us that we are more alike than we are different.
Can you hear the sound of the world in motion? The wind through the trees, the tides of the ocean. Can you feel the beat of a million hearts all the time? Keep the sun and moon alive.
and add it to the ensemble of our ancestors. Our family. Nuestra familia. Inevitably in life, the accompaniment drops out, and we experience great loss. We find that the melodies we cherish are gone, and for a moment, we are playing alone.
When somebody loved me, everything was beautiful. And when she was happy, so was I. When she loved me, when somebody loved me, everything was beautiful. Everything
want to watch the show in its entirety, you can head over to youtube.com/WDWinfo and you'll find it over there. But here, we're going to talk about our impressions of this brand new show, having just watched it.
Yeah, and I think we have very different impressions of this show, and I should state right off the bat with this, I hated Harmonious on night one, and by the end of Harmonious's run, I wanted to see it as many times as possible, so take whatever I say with a grain of salt, because it could and very well probably will change. However, I think just jumping right into it, I think my overall problem with this show is I don't need the vocal arrangements of the songs to evoke emotions from me. That's part of what made Illumination so powerful, is that it was a beautiful cacophony of symphonic sounds.
Oh, okay.
And
so you like the main part of Illuminations where there was like no dialogue,
yeah,
no whatever.
Exactly.
So when I think of Illuminations, for me, I think about the we go on,
yeah,
dun, 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 but that was obviously after the climactic part of the show.
Yeah, and that makes sense. But with this show, it was very driven by the narration that kind of took you in between scenes and told you how to feel. The music was beautiful for the most part, but something about it for me, it just still felt like a greatest hits show of this is the greatest Disney songs we have right now to signify the emotions that we want you to evoke, rather than just finding a way to have the music connect and let you be able to experience the feelings yourself. And but everyone else around us was able to get there. I just wasn't.
Well, it's interesting you say that too, because I feel like we were fortunate enough to have an experience with many of the people who helped create the show just before the show, and they kind of were talking about basically the outline of the show, how it was kind of like, it was kind of like the journey of a life that you take, right?
Yeah,
like you grow, you learn, you make connections, you lose people, you find new people, you love, you eat, pray, love.
And the important thing they said over and over again with it was everyone will find something different in their story. That's why it is the symphony of us. Everyone has a different story, and each person is going to connect to different moments. Like so I'm not going to call anyone out because that would be rude, but
are they
like
watching us?
No.
Okay.
So like it started to lead into the moment where it was a mashup of Remember Me and When Somebody Loved Me.
Yeah.
And there was multiple people in our group that snort laughed right at the beginning of it. I'm not sure why. And I was
not
like,
even our group, I think it was the whole section.
That killed it for me. As soon as they laughed, I'm like, okay, well, maybe this isn't great. And then by the end of it, everyone's crying. And I'm like, I don't know what to feel anymore.
I did cry, but I think it was one of those where, like, I think a lot of people who do cry when they hear, what's the Toy Story 2 song? Sorry.
When Somebody Loved Me.
I would argue that is one of Disney's most devastatingly emotional songs in their catalog. So, like, the fact that played and people laughed, I think because they knew, like, because literally that part started right after in the show where they were basically like, you know somebody who's died? Do you know somebody who's dying? It felt like when we were kids and you'd see those like infomercials late at night. Well, then call this number. And it was one of those where it was like, and then it started playing and you're like, yeah, I laughed because of course this is the song that would play when you're like, hey guys, death. When somebody loved me, and you're like, how dare you? But also, I did get like very emotional during that part, and then the Requiem to Me. But like, I liked it. It was definitely, that was the most blatantly obvious, because the narrator and then the music of any Disney thing I've ever experienced, it might be the most blatantly obvious, like emotionally manipulative thing I've ever experienced. But like, sometimes you're like, I was thinking about while I was watching the show, because we were watching it next to our friend Brooke, and she was very emotional while she was watching the show, and I was thinking about how you know what it is for me that I enjoyed about it is it had like sort of a catharsis about it, where there were some things where you're like, I'm here and I want to, whether it's like because of that sort of nostalgic feeling of coming here when you were younger, or just like the stories of other people's journeys here or whatever, where you were like, I'm longing and begging for this sort of connection. And when they're like, okay, well, we'll hit you with the best of, you're going to connect to something in it because it is the story of us.
And maybe that's the problem with me, is where Harmonious, I felt like it connected World Showcase together. Even if you could disagree with me by like how the different languages brought everyone together.
I liked Harmonious too, though.
I feel like Harmonious brought the world together in that way. This brought emotions together, and so two different tasks. Both I think were accomplished well. This one, at this point in my life, at this current state, you know, I was also watching it through a camera as we were paying attention. It's tough. So I wasn't able to pay attention to it fully, but I don't know, part of Harmonious, I feel like the message of where I was watching it connected with me better than this did. However, if you are going to watch this, I know my favorite spot to watch fireworks is always in between the two gift shops, looking towards American Adventure. However, if you have the chance to watch it over on the Italy-Japan side, looking towards Spaceship Earth is part of the show, brings it all together. I like that a lot. And I See the Light was like the biggest example for me when it started on Spaceship Earth. There's a lot to love about this show, and I know it will grow on me, but it's tough. Once again, each show has to replace something that was great.
So I feel like for me, when we were watching the show and it was over, not even was over, we got to see one of the performers, one of the vocalists of the show, perform for us a little section of it. And when I heard that, because I hadn't really listened to any of the teases or anything ahead of time, I was like, okay, this is going to be the emotional, spiritual successor of Illuminations. And that's where I felt like, for me, I think in my mind, if you could rearrange history, I would go Illuminations, this show, and then what's the one we were just talking about with the octopus arms?
With Harmonious.
Harmonious, yeah. I was gonna say Enchantment. I was like, nope. But Harmonious, like I liked Harmonious. I did not dislike Harmonious. I think Harmonious's problem really was in that it was just a giant metal tangled mess that sat out there useless most of the day. Whereas this will come and go. But this also was interesting. I do see what you're saying, where like Illuminations was very orchestral and not very vocal, and this was very narrator heavy, very lyrical heavy. And it is interesting, this is very much a story of the human experience versus I feel like Illuminations was about communication, right? Like it was about sort of that like history of communication.
Well, it was also, the Illuminations was also telling the story of Earth itself, starting with chaos and fire and building towards humanity. And it was a very special show that it could tell so much in such a little bit. I feel like this did try to hit on every single emotion you could and should have as a human. It's just each part is going to hit in different ways. And
I don't know. Okay, so for me, like with Harmonious, I felt like I would tell anybody I saw it, and I don't know that I saw that show enough, honestly, because I did enjoy it, but every scene in that show felt like a finale, right? Like it was a bunch of finales, one finale after another. So for me, that was a show where it was like, like you just kept going up a ladder and you were just like excited, excited, excited. And this show was definitely more of a very tepid, like a wave of a water. Like it was like up and down, and the fireworks were nice and I liked it. And I think this one is definitely going to be a more, I don't even mean this in a negative way, I mean a moderate people pleaser. Like I think it's going to appeal. I think if we had the lows and the highs, this show would be right in the middle. And whereas like Harmonious might have been like a boop, 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 boop. Like this is like a
so Harmonious to me was like Harmonious to me was like that special drink that you have, or that specialty food where you're like, oh, it's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
When you start to appreciate it. This show, you could have sang along to every song, something that people complained about with Harmonious, with Enchantment. They're like, oh, I can't sing along with it. You could do these songs. You could figure it out quickly enough.
And I like the original songs too, though, because you were like, you hear them and you're like, oh, these are going to be in my, I don't mean to be like my iPod and sound old, but like Illuminations made its way into my iPod, and I was like, oh, it's crazy. The songs in my iPod.
The original songs were fantastic. I wish they would have leaned a little bit more in, because as we've been recording this, we've been sitting in the World Celebration Gardens where Pinar Toprak's entire original score has been playing. Just stunning, and they weaved that into the fireworks show. It was easily the best part. It didn't need to rely so heavily on Disney music, but that's where it connects the average guest to it, and I'm completely okay with that and accept it. I feel like they could have taken a swing and went with more original, and it still would have worked out. But
I think that's honestly, that's one of those things where it's maybe they were afraid to or something. But the original stuff was, and that is the thing, because I'm not always like, I don't think every time they do an original thing in a theme park is it a hit. But this was one of those where like I heard that song and I was like, oh my god, that's a phenomenal. Like it's one of those, you hear it and you feel like you've heard it your whole life. Where you're like, I love it. It resonates, and that's where you're like, that I wish maybe there was more of it. Because I feel like it was just such a small piece.
And the more we talk about it, the more I mean, obviously I'm discovering the more I liked about it, and I know I will continue to find more. It is definitely a show for the masses, and that's not a bad thing. And that's what they needed. They needed something that there was one little part of it that could connect to the audience, to the families out there watching it, and I love that it didn't rely on video, so you could truly stand anywhere.
That's why I like that
and experience it, which that was such a downfall.
I wanted to make sure I said this in the video too, because I was watching it and I was looking around, but everybody was looking like straight at the lagoon when it started happening. But like, did you not think, did you guys see because we have a friend off camera, there was a thing that like rose out of the barges at one point. It was like, it was like a stick with a thing. It came straight up and it basically shot fireworks all the way around it. Like 3 times in a row. And I was like, that thing is awesome.
The pyro was definitely on another level. So pyro, fountain work, lighting. That all hit for me. It was very
reminiscent of a classic EPCOT, I felt like, or not even classic, but a fusing of like what they're doing out here in the gardens with Spaceship Earth, but it feels like it's being pushed into the lagoon as well.
The entire musical score here, where we're sitting, is all instrumental. I think if they would have went instrumental the full show, I'd be sitting here saying not a single complaint with it. It's really something about the narration and the way they presented the songs did not connect with me. Visually, everything else did. And you know, it's kind of like you ride Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Maybe you hate every single song they play on that, but you can also say, this is an awesome roller coaster that's taking me on a ride. You can make your own soundtrack. And to me, with the show, maybe that defeats the purpose of it, but sometimes you just need to hear it in a different way to experience it completely differently. And I'm again, this is all night one. I will come back. I'll see it multiple times. I will probably have my mind changed by the 4th or 5th time. So I'm not being too harsh on it.
Imagine if they had like the holiday package at the end of it or something.
That would take it to another level, and I'm not even going to criticize it. It just debuted here now, so we don't have to jump the gun on it. But you know what? I think it's a huge step up from EPCOT Forever in terms of in terms of an experience where you can watch it from any position and have a great show, hear familiar music, and feel emotions and connections. It is also a step up from Harmonious.
Connections. You mean the eerie up to our side?
But regardless, you can't. Everyone is still going to connect in their own way, and if
connections to the creations.
I hope the people who couldn't connect to Harmonious and EPCOT Forever can connect to this show, and if you can't, maybe the next one. But it's, you know, that's the beautiful thing is Epcot is always in a state of becoming, and
I hate you.
because of that, we will see.
He's reading the plaques.
We'll see what the future lies ahead. But yeah, I think this is truly, it is technologically and emotionally, it's a step above Harmonious and Epcot Forever. Will it ever replace Illuminations in my heart? Probably not.
I don't
but
even know
that's
that
okay.
anything ever can. Like, I think we're still maybe another 5 to 10 years away from being like, we're far enough away that now, you know what I mean? It's going to take a generation to get away from it to be able to remember it. And like,
probably.
And I'm not even one of those purists about it. Like, but I do think Illuminations was an incredible show and an original show, which is very unique. So I will be very interested to see how the general masses react to this, how other people react to it. But the emotionally speaking, like, I'm being honest, I emotionally reacted to the show. Like you said, the original music was good, and I think more people, an average person, could enjoy not that average people couldn't enjoy the last show. We liked the last show. I don't have negative. You liked the last show. You already said it, and that's the thing is that I can like the last show and like the new show.
Exactly.
They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm just excited and I enjoy that this is here. I look forward to seeing it again, and I look forward to seeing what other people have to say about it. And if you like it and somebody else doesn't, it doesn't diminish how much you like it. So don't let that happen. And if you don't like it, that's okay too. Like, we
should be so lucky. We're living in a time where we've seen like 5 different fireworks shows come and go from the Disney parks with, I mean, in a good way.
Yeah, but before this, it was like 20 years before, 10 years.
Sorry,
you know, like,
4 shows in Epcot with Illuminations, Epcot Forever, Harmonious, and now Luminous. And then over at Magic Kingdom, being able to go between Wishes, Enchantment. That's been a little longer, but Wishes, Enchantment, Happily Ever After. We're living in a great period. Back to Happily Ever After. Sorry. We're living in a time where Disney World is investing in nighttime entertainment and trying to find the best of the best, and that is the most we can ask for. And I'm here for it. I will watch this show many times, and I can't wait to hear what everyone else thinks.
I think it's very fitting of Epcot. I think we'd love to hear what you have to say about it. So leave some comments if you like the video, thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and of course, you know, I already said the comments thing. I was gonna say leave us comments, but yeah, we want to know. More comments. So thank you, Disney, for the invitation out here and hosting us. And don't forget about Dreams Unlimited Travel when planning your next vacation. That's gonna do it for us. We'll see you later. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Epcot!
Luminous.